Hey, this is Rick with Social Good Software. In this short demo, I'm going to be sharing with you how availability is calculated for your calendar. So let me go ahead and scroll down here and I can go ahead and share with you how this works. So how is availability calculated for your calendar? Now, Ultra doesn't let us query availability, so we had to come around with a workaround for us to be able to capture this availability and be able to do an accurate count of how many particular tickets are left. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you how we calculate this availability. We have to manually calculate this availability because Ultra doesn't give us the ability to query it off of Ultra itself. So we have to come up with a way for us to be able to calculate it. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share with you how that calculation is done. So more than likely you have a calendar query already. This query here should just pretty much output all of your program's information, where the capacity is greater than 0, start dates on out after today, and it's looking at that particular program. And then this output fields are all the same here. But we also need a reserved events query, and this is what allows us to be able to calculate that difference of what was actually sold. Because remember, capacity is just giving us back a number, 100, 200, whatever the capacity you have set. The reserved events query allows us to be able to see everything that has been sold. So this is looking at things that have not been refunded with this particular program, where the start date is on or after today. Then it shows you here all of the different items that it's outputting here. As you can see, we're not outputting availability. However, we are outputting quantity. Okay? So let me go down here and I'll show you how this works. So we grab our capacity minus the item sold, which gives us availability. So if we do a little math example here, so if we have 100, we sell 50, that will give us an availability of 50. So that's it. It's pretty simple how we calculate this. Let me go ahead and show you now how sold is actually calculated, because that's the most interesting part here. So how is exactly sold calculated? Because like I said before, we have no way of being able to determine how many things were sold. So just like I mentioned before, we have no way of getting that availability. So we need to be able to calculate sold in order for us to be able to subtract it from capacity. So we have quantity, 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 quantity. So that's essentially what the query is outputting. It's displaying the sales order and the total quantity for that particular item, like this. So pretty much what we do is we take every single quantity that query outputs, like this, and that gives us back sold. So if we come back over here, sold is calculated by taking a sum of all of the quantities in that output query, and our output query is this one here. Okay, so that's essentially how it's calculated. It's nothing fancy, it's really simple. We just take a sum, call it sold, the capacity, and subtract those two, which gives us availability. So that's essentially how it's calculated. The next part here is we were taking essentially these two parts, giving us availability, and that's what allows us to be able to show you what's available on the calendar itself. Now you might be wondering, I set this up exactly this way and I'm still seeing incorrect quantities displayed on the calendar. So if this is happening, more than likely it was due to a refund. So a refund has to be explicitly excluded from your query. So I have my reserved events query here. You can see here that I set refund status is equal to 0. And this is only returning back everything that has not been refunded. If it's refunded, we issue it back into the pool, which then releases availability. So that's essentially how that works. If you want to go ahead and include refunds in your availability, Then you need to go ahead and pull this here, right here, pull that off, and that will go ahead and allow you to be able to include refunds in this calculation here. Okay, so that's essentially what's happening. So refunds, partial refunds, rescheduling, a lot of those different activities you do within Altru is what can throw off the quantity being displayed on the calendar. So if you're getting incorrect quantity, the only way that I know how to troubleshoot this is to output a specific date with a specific time for both queries. So in this one here, you would say start date is equal to a specific date, start time is equal to a specific time, and then same thing here as well. So start date and start time. And then once you have done that, you're going to go ahead and do the math, do a sum. Capacity minus sold gives you availability. And if you're missing sales orders, it's more than likely for those reasons that I mentioned: refunds, partial refunds, cancellations, rescheduling, that type of thing. All right, and then the final last thing here is we do have a way for you to be able to manually override it and mark it as sold out. In order for you to be able to do this, you just have to go to your program, set the capacity to 0 right here, and that will automatically pull those off for you. So if there is, for example, 6 that have been partially refunded, you just need to go to that particular event, date and time, set the capacity to 0, which would then automatically pull it off of the calendar. All right, so hopefully that makes sense of how this is being calculated. Again, it's just capacity minus sold gives you availability. And then sold is calculated based on all the quantities that your reserved event query is outputting here under quantity.
And that's going to go ahead and do it here for me. Once again, this is Rick from Social Good Software. Hopefully you found this video helpful. We're always looking to improve and make things better. If something was not clearly explained in this video, or maybe you just are still a little bit confused and have some additional questions that we didn't talk about in the video, don't worry, we're here to help. Please go over to socialgoodsoftware.com/feedback. You're able to provide us feedback on this training. You're able to provide us feedback on the software. We're always looking to improve. So if you have any suggestions, please reach out to us. Again, socialgoodsoftware.com/feedback. You'll be able to go ahead and share your thoughts with us, and we're always happy to help.